What's up, guys? Hear me? Testing. Testing 1, 2. Testing, testing, testing. Got all the right stuff. Like we do. Cool. Sophie, get down. Down. All right. What's up, guys? How's it going? Watching Lasman Gold tonight as well.
The age of broken video games.
I think the first thing that comes to mind when I think of the PS4 and Xbox One era is all of the games that released in just a totally busted state. Don't get me wrong, broken games have existed since long before the PS4 and Xbone. Shout out Superman 64. Hi Clark, how are you? Good to see you. Haven't seen you since college when you lasered that professor. But there definitely weren't nearly as many big budget AAA busters. You know, Big Rigs is barely comprehensible. Like, that game was made by one man in a pond, not a giant AAA Megatron. Back in the prehistoric days of the Xbox 360,
Back in 2007,
PS3,
yeah.
Downloading an update to fix issues or add stuff to your disc-based game after its release was like a fairly new concept, but like...
No, it was a pretty new thing. Like, most things would get shipped and they worked. Because back then, you gotta remember, like in 2007, this sounds nuts, but not everybody had the internet. There were people still living in the Stone Ages. They're like washing their clothes with like one of those little things you like put it on the water.
Kill this guy over here.
You know, pumping their own water.
While we wait
well,
for the next battle.
And they come home and they watch television with no fucking internet.
An actually pretty cool concept. Wait, so the interweb can make my already legendary game even more legendary by downloading this epic Chuck Norris update? That's pretty like a boss. I see no way this could ever end badly for the consumer. It is 2007. I just saw Michael Clayton. But nowadays, the disc inside that case you just bought is practically dead weight the second you've installed the game and downloaded the likely...
Well, the disc is what you buy, and then you download the game. Yeah, and the game doesn't really release for like 2.5 more weeks after they iron out all the bugs that they couldn't fix because they fired the QA team. So that's your job now, and you paid $70 to do it.
Necessary giant update full of fixes not included on the disc, because the disc was actually manufactured months prior to the game's set release date, and the developers kept working on stuff during that time, likely because the publisher set the release date way too early and we're just like, it's fine, everyone has the internet, you'll fix it in time, just never stop working. You don't have to see your family is dumb. Your family
you'll be ready, the game will be ready. All you have to do is work 90 hours a week. That's all. You just do that for 2 months, and then it's gonna be fine.
Interesting.
Literally the craziest idiots I've ever seen. Why do you want to go home to them? Goofy, your family? L. The disc may as well just be a doctor's note that tells your PS4, yes, my son actually does own the game now. Go ahead and give him the necessary day one flu shot. Oh my god.
I cannot fucking believe that this guy compared buying a video game nowadays to a fucking doctor's note to say that you went to buy the game. I cannot fucking believe that. But the worst part about it is that it works perfectly. It does. It's
7 gigabytes.
Completely.
Fallout 76 didn't even actually come with a disc, so you actually just got a cool new blue coaster for your site.
I hate that, bro. Like, whenever you buy it's like a jewel case for a game, and then you open it up, and it's just a piece of fucking
everybody.
paper, and it's a link to
Hope
a
you guys are having a good night.
to download it on.
We're collecting some gold and
code or some shit.
watching
like
some
back
YouTube.
In the day, we bought World of Warcraft, and there were 5 fucking discs in that box. Burning Crusade, there were 4.
Reddit dungeon. Basically, if you don't have internet access nowadays as a gamer, you're screwed. But my goal with this video isn't just to be like, well, things used to be better back in the day, and now they're all bad. Grr, because it's not that simple or true.
Yeah.
Big budget broken video games exist for a lot of reasons. The first one being making video games is just really, really hard.
I think it's gotten harder now because also you have way more people that discover bugs inside of games, and there are probably people that if they didn't watch a bunch of bad like content about a game, they probably would have gone into the game and enjoyed it more. I absolutely think that people on YouTube and people online now, they'll go and they dislike games and they enjoy games less because they watch like 18 different criticisms and breakdowns.
That was crazy.
Of the game. And it's like, they're like, oh, I thought this game was bad. Or they're saying it's bad. That means it's fucking bad. Yeah, they're hate farming. Exactly.
Dude.
So yeah, I think that I think that a lot
What a
of the
guild.
games that come out that are problematic, yeah, they're bad, like for sure. But I think it's like a force multiplier with how many times like you got videos out there talking about how bad they are and showing about every single way that they're bad. Because the truth is, with a lot of these bugs, it looks bad whenever you isolate it, and it is bad. It's bad. But there are a lot of people that will never even encounter this bug. It only happens whenever you're using this item at this place and you never use this item at this place, so it just never happened. But people will still see that and think, oh, game's bugged.
Oh, you know what I need to do?
Openly critical of many big budget AAA games on this channel, but I hope that I have always made one thing very crystal Pepsi clear. A lot of very talented people work very hard for
Bro, like you have Crystal Pepsi, like that shit was brown. The soda was a nice golden brown. And then you turn it white, bro, that's something wrong. That's not natural. That's not normal.
Long, crunchy Nature Valley hours to make even seemingly simple stuff like this possible, and it's crazy. And in order for a game to be even considered pretty good by the general public.
Oh my God, is this happening to me again? Oh my fucking God, bro, like... All right, let's watch it.
This happens to me too.
Openly critical of many big budget AAA games on this channel, but I hope that I have always made one thing very crystal Pepsi clear. A lot of very talented people work very hard for very long, crunchy Nature Valley hours to make even seemingly simple stuff like this possible, and it's crazy. And in order for a game to be even considered pretty good by the general public, gameplay, sound, story, characters, performance, all of these things have to perfectly align in the gamer night sky. Obviously, modern technology.
I mean, as long as the gameplay's good, I'm happy. Like everything else is all like that's all fucking sprinkles on the cupcake. If the story's good, great. If the graphics are good, great. Does the game play like shit? If the answer to that is no, we're not doing it.
Made creating virtual worlds a lot easier than it was back in the 80s or 90s. And I think we often take that for granted. We've come a long way from the days where 3D was a bit more of a fluid, abstract concept like jazz, and you aimed a gun with the same finger you drove James Bond with.
Yeah, it was weird.
Lights you up.
Bro, why am I getting ads?
Many hands coordinate across many different types of teams.
But I can't believe I'm getting ads, bro. Like, how am I getting ads? Bro, I'm so sick of this. What do I download? Is it uBlock Origin? Nah, because it says this.
I think the first thing that comes to mind when I think of the PS3D was a bit more of a fluid, abstract concept like jazz, and you aimed a gun with the same finger you drove James Bond with. But with better tools and better hardware comes bigger projects, with bigger budgets, with bigger teams, with bigger lists of bigger problems that your big ass better fix with your big tractor. And if you've ever been hanging out with a big group, you know that even doing something as simple as deciding where to go for dinner can quickly become a f***ing boss fight, especially when you're—
I don't know why people are like this.
Friend's mom, who's paying for the dinner, has all these crappy dinner demands because she's trying to satisfy her dinner shareholders. This metaphor is getting a little goofy.
I fucking hate this. People that always try to make eating food complicated. There's nothing I hate more than that. Oh, it makes me so mad.
At the point, I know half of you are just thinking about Michael Clayton still. So I think the first obvious reason
just
for
pisses
AAA
me
games
off.
releasing in a broken state is that game development is just insanely hard and requires
Yeah,
so
it
much
is.
dedicated
Absolutely.
collaboration and efficient time
Of
management.
course.
And it's a miracle
Yes.
that any video game ever gets finished and is even exists at all. And all video games should go to heaven. The second reason is
That's true. Yeah.
okay, buddy, that's enough out of you. I'm Jakey, and Jakey, attorneys at law, and I'm here to tell you about today's video sponsor, PayPal Honey. Honey is a free online shopping tool that automatically searches for promo codes at checkout, like a little deal detective, so that you don't have to. Honey works for so many things that you're probably
No, this
already
this
buying,
ad's
like
fine
shoes
because
or
it's like at
sweaters
least he's
on
getting paid
websites
for it,
that
not
you're probably
Google.
already shopping on. And did I mention that it's completely free? Hey, no objections over here. Sustained and overruled. Shit. Anytime you see your little dancing detective up here, just click apply coupons and let little shorty do his thing and try to save you some money. Dang! I recently needed a new lawyer briefcase because my previous one was covered in so much mud for reasons I'm not at liberty to say. So naturally, I looked online for a cute new backpack that I could take into the courtroom, and Honey found a coupon for it and go. Whether you use Google Chrome,
I didn't even know you could use coupons on the internet. You can do that?
Evans, what's up,
Evans
buddy?
Games just subscribed for
I
4
guess,
months.
yeah. I
You're
mean,
welcome.
4
Firefox,
months, dude. Thank you.
Safari, or
For your
whatever
sub,
reason,
what up?
Microsoft
Let's
Edge,
go,
you
dude.
can add
Thank you.
Honey to your browser for
Appreciate
free
you
by going
sticking
to
around.
joinhoney.com
How are you guys doing?
/NakeyJake. Using my special link helps the channel and is greatly appreciated by all of the attorneys here at Jakey, and Jakey, and Jakey, and Jakey, and Jakey, and Jakey. Thank you to Honey for
Well,
sponsoring.
I probably just used some random, like, you know, fucking attorneys.
I'm in
suits,
Ash.
and he just fucking searches it up on Google, and it's like the first result. He's like, yeah, we're gonna use that one.
This video, and now let's get on back to this episode of Nabo Jabo and the age of Michael Clayton. As most of you in the audience know, new video games sell around $60, or I guess now $70 on PS5 and
That's
Xbox
right.
Series
That's
S.
right. Give me
X.
$80
Why
soon.
the f did they call them that? And it's been around that
such a
$50 to
stupid
$60 price point for a while, even
Yep.
though AAA games take way longer to make now and have way bigger budgets than back in the day when I was star quarterback. So because of all that, and also inflation, in some cases,
Yeah,
it's kind
I
of
see. This was bad, huh? Like, damn, look at that. That sucks, huh? What the fuck? Damn. Well, I guess wages went up by that same amount though, so it's okay.
steal to get a game like Elden Ring for only
Yeah.
$60 when Eternal Ring was $50 23 years ago.
Uh-huh.
And the swords in that game are tiny. They're not nearly as girthy or as long as Elden Ring. You go out in public with those things, I'll kick your ass. Donkey Online has a really good video about video game pricing that you should go watch later, but not right now. If you leave, you won't see how I learned how to spin. I'm gonna spin later. You're gonna want to see that. So if you're a company whose main priority at the end of the day is just to generate as much profit as humanly possible,
Yeah, I've heard of
why
that.
not cut a few corners, you know? Assuming that your reputation isn't all that important to you. Because
Well,
if
it's or like you've got to keep in mind, right? It's like a lot of companies, their reputation is already in the shitter. So it's like if EA brings out a game and there's no bugs in it, no one's gonna care. But at the same time, if EA brings out a game and it's bugged out, it's fucked up, also nobody's gonna care. Because it's EA, what do you expect?
it's a choice between A, spending millions of dollars for every month that you lengthen
Yep.
development time to ensure that you release a relatively bug-free and finished product, and hope it eventually pays off because lots of people recognize that it's good quality
Oh,
and
sure.
buy it
Yep.
and sing your praises and you win awards at the big show and Jeff goes, oh man, your game is so
Such a good game.
I've ever seen, dude. Which is all a very big gamble. Or B,
Yeah.
set a very unrealistic release date that you know damn well you will not make, and force your team to crunch their asses off, only to still release a broken game that you'll maybe eventually fix with a giant update long after release and after you've already made all your money. And to make sure you definitely see a return on your giant investment and satisfy your investors, you do all these pre-order bonuses and fancy
Pre-orders. Look at that. Like, bro, this is gaming. Guys, who's excited about gaming? Here, let me go back. Oh, look at that. Pre-order bonus, badges, selling out fast, postcards, original score, art book, wallpapers. Oh my god.
Oh, what's up,
Take
Dane?
my
How you doing?
money. This is the way these games are now, man.
Good to see you.
and fancy trailers with celebrities just to guarantee that people buy your game before.
By the way, guys, check this out. Okay, new feature to the stream. Doing okay? How about me? I'm doing well. Doing well. All right. So if you want to, if so, on the Discord now, guys, if you want to be a part of the stream, or you just want to listen to what I'm doing, and not necessarily have stream open or get for some reason, whatever. There's a town hall in the Discord where you can come and you can raise your hand, or you can call in basically to the stream, be a part of the stream, ask me questions. We probably won't. We'll probably go. It won't keep people in there for too long. We'll try to keep a good rotation. I have some. I want to. People are welcome to join the Discord. I need to get a little. Maybe you could make a command for me. I don't know. No, I need like an automatic command, so I'll have to make it myself to tell people that they should join the Discord and be a part of it. Oh, damn, you already got it right there. Thank you. You're already on top of it. I thought you had. Should have just been aware. So I've got one. I. How do I spell I? My God. My God. God, I suck at typing. Do them Thursdays and Sundays at 7th server. Okay. We're joining on this guy, on this character, we're joining some dwarves. Annie, do you need to go outside? Be right back, guys. Hey. Sorry about that, guys. Annie had a seizure. I had to tend to her. All right. Fine. On the Discord real quick. Eh. All right, cool. All right, let's go ahead.
Or gamers can even know that the game is busted as hell because you also made it so that no publication can drop a review for the game until the day the game comes out, which should be illegal. Yeah, if the only thing you care about is sales in your quarterly reports, you're definitely planting at bombsite.
Yeah, we're on the B.
Just like Ubisoft and EA and Bethesda and Square Enix and Activision and CD Projekt Red and Microsoft.
Yeah.
Like several times. You very rarely see Sony or Nintendo or Rockstar publish a big broken unfinished mess because they know that their reputation is a big reason people purchase games that have their cute little sexy logos in the corner.
That's right, because like after
All
your
right, we're back,
reputation
guys.
is fucked,
Sorry about that.
well then it's like, okay, well at this point, I mean,
I'm
you
back.
might as well have some fun with it. Yeah, just
I'm
like,
back,
don't
I'm
even
back.
test the shit. Just put it out there. They already
Well, I think I
pre-ordered,
need-
right?
Freeze.
Yeah, all right, yeah, it's good. It's good. We fix it later. We'll do it live.
Part 2, Ghost of Tsushima, Spider-Man, God of War, all of these Sony exclusives released in relatively bug-free and complete states. And, well, Days Gone was iffy, but we don't have to talk about Days Gone. Yeah, I said your name.
Never played this
Now
one.
Go back to bed, okay? Doesn't mean that those devs didn't have to crunch like hell to reach the finish line. No, unfortunately, crunch is a huge problem across the entire industry, and even Golden Girl publishers and developers like Sony and Naughty Dog aren't exceptions to that. It's still very much not ideal. But apparently even Golden Girls like Nintendo or Rockstar, companies with some of the highest rated games of all time under their championship belt, they push like B too. It's B, rush B, rotate B, rotate B. The GTA Definitive Trilogy was one of the most appalling and disappointing re-releases of a beloved franchise that the world has ever seen. Appalling and disappointing re-releases of a beloved franchise that the world has ever seen. And this is Rockstar, the company that put out this game, and this game, and this game, and this game. And fucking even this game is amazing. And you know money isn't tight with how much of a cash cow GTA 5 continues to be 10 years later. Like, this isn't an indie publisher rushing out Hog Simulator 3 because they're strapped for cash after their Kickstarter failed. No, this is Rockstar.
I feel like Hog Simulator. I feel like that'd be a good game. Yeah, that actually would probably be fun.
Alright, is that too loud?
Dragonfly.
Their parent company Take-Two, but at some point, someone,
Is that better now?
someone's, somewhere said, "F it, we'll do it live." And
There we
Nintendo,
go.
they just published the two
Exactly what I was
lowest rated mainline Pokemon games to ever exist. Games now famous.
Well, because it's like people at this point.
All right,
man,
hopefully that's a little
everybody's
better.
Gonna buy the new Pokemon game. Like, if you're gonna buy a new Pokemon game, a review ain't gonna stop you. Like, you've probably been buying Pokemon games for 10 years. So you just push that shit out there and it's all kinds of fucked up. I mean, look, it's not your problem. You stopped buying them? Yeah, but you probably stopped buying them because you went to fucking high school or middle school. You grew out of Pokemon. You probably didn't stop buying them because they were bugged out. Yeah, I stopped buying them too. Because I got too old to get into Pokemon.
fine for their hilarious bugs. And I ain't talking about Caterpie. And even if there's a fun game buried underneath all the bugs, it should be illegal to advertise and sell a product in this state. And that brings me to my final reason that I think broken AAA games will continue to exist. You. I touched on this in my ads and video games video,
Yeah,
but
because people don't give a fuck. And like they will always go. And the thing is, you buy a video game, and then the game is fucked up. And then because you bought the video game, if you acknowledge that the game is fucked up, you acknowledge that you are stupid. Because you bought the fucking game. You bought the bad game. You fucking idiot. You dumb bitch. And so you're going to go online and you're going to be like, well, look, I mean, it doesn't have that many bugs. You just have to, for the mission 4, you have to only look at the ground. Because if you look at any of the cars in the mission, the game crashes. But the thing is, also it makes it more of a challenge because you have to memorize the floor patterns and walk in the right way. So there's always people that make excuses for why these games are okay whenever they're obviously fucking garbage. Absolutely. And it's people don't want to feel stupid for buying a game like this.
But oh my god, stop pre-ordering games. That's why these companies keep
That's
promising
never
to
gonna
serve you
happen.
hot lunch square pizza and then go
That's never gonna happen.
Because they know the average consumer is gullible as hell and overly trusting and super loyal to their
No, they're not gullible as hell or super trusting. They just want game. Bill want game, Bill buy game. Game bad, Bill mad. That's it. And then you bring out the new trailer. And Bill's like, oh, it's gonna be different this time, I just know it. And you're right back to square one. It doesn't even matter, it just keeps happening.
favorite thing, and they prey on those sensibilities to make sure that your money ends up in their pocket.
Yeah.
And it does. Every single time. Pokemon was busted as hell and still sold 20 million copies. It's like serious gamer Stockholm syndrome.
Just give up. Just give up. Listen, just be happy that they're still releasing video games, okay? And they're not just asking the people to just give them money. Just be happy that you're still getting some form of a game.
People will watch a pre-release review for a game like Dying Light 2 on IGN or GameSpot and defend the game like their fucking life depends on it, even though they haven't even played it yet. Okay, guys.
Yes, because they've already convinced themselves that it's going to be good. The thing is, there's one thing that people hate: being wrong. And the thing is that if you're on the internet and you're wrong, you can ride that ship down to the bottom of the ocean and nobody can do anything about it. That's the truth. They gulp themselves to death. Yeah, exactly. You can never
Inventory
say that. Yeah,
is
exactly.
full.
What's wrong with that? Yeah, they hate
Inventory
to be wrong.
is full.
And the fact is that people that do stuff like this, absolutely, that's how they are. And they're going to make excuses for games because they've already told themselves it's going to be good. So if they hear news about the game being bad, well, now they have to reorient their whole mind. Now, their opinion is wrong. And that's obviously not true. So it's got to be like a rigged review. It's like only a bug on PlayStation and it doesn't happen on PC. Or like, oh, well, you're nitpicking, or, oh, that never happened to me, or something like that. Yeah, that's just how it is. Oh, I thought I played it.
But remember, this is without the day one patch, and we all know those usually fix everything. You can't spell ignorant without IGN or ants. And even months after the damage is done and a broken product has sold millions of copies because apparently gamers have toasters for brains, people in the comments will once again applaud and defend companies like EA or CD Projekt Red for sticking with
Can't
their
find any of
game
these
and fixing it
statuettes,
long
man.
after release, which it's like, I guess that deserves some level of praise, maybe. You know what I mean? It's like
Well,
you
it's
buy a
better
taco
that
for the
they
full
did
price.
that than
You
nothing.
advertised a full taco on the fucking taco screen. And when you get that taco, you open up the greasy paper just to see a busted ass half taco
Nah,
shell.
because I've got this before though. Like this has happened to me. Like the other day I went to Taco Bell and they put onions in my shit. And like I bet I could have gone back and they would have given me something new, but maybe not. Maybe they just said I ordered it that way and they're not gonna do it.
With only beans on it.
I
It's
hate
only
onions.
beans. Oops, all beans. And then 6 months later, a Taco Bell employee rings your doorbell and gives you the other half of that busted taco that still doesn't have all the meat on it that they promised. And your response is to start clapping? Like, what the fuck? And don't get me wrong, definitely throw love to the hardworking individual devs that actually got in the crunchy taco shell trenches and coated this broken mess back together. But there's zero fucking credit to the shitty overlord Taco Bell EA Corporation responsible for that broken taco that you paid full price for in the first place. God damn it.
I think that most people that make games probably don't want to release a game that's borked. I don't think anybody does. It's just that sometimes
Inventory
you either have
is
people that don't know what the hell they're doing, or you have people that make deadlines that don't know what the hell they're doing. And guess what you get? Well, you get a borked game. That's it.
I just want to finish this quest, man.
Churro to the throat. God. A lot of initially broken games can eventually blossom into really good ones, like No Man's Sky, Master Chief Collection. Final Fantasy XIV was like completely reborn, pun intended. And people love it now,
They did
that's
that.
awesome. But this cycle will repeat as long as gamers continue to buy games and pre-order games before even knowing if it runs as well as the pudding on their treadmill.
Yeah, but I bought the last game, and the last game was good whenever I got it, and so this one is going to be good, and if I buy it, if I pre-order it now, and I get the deluxe edition, I can play it early, which is good, because the early date is on Friday, and I don't work on Friday. I get Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I can play the game 3 days. But if I wait, then it's going to be out on Wednesday. And then I got to work, and I'm not going to be able to play. Oh. So I kind of had to do it. And that's it. Like, I think that it's over. It's just simply over. You're never going to convince gamers not to pre-order. You're never going to stop them from buying microtransactions. It's just not going to happen. You're on this train, and you are not the conductor. You are along for the ride.
The only possible change starts with you and what you choose to spend your money on. Otherwise, we're just going to keep getting anthems shoved into our ant holes. But you know what they say, you can't spell Nakey Jakey without Jane. Or Kevin. I'm going to start uploading more stuff to Jaquan and Jekyll, so if you want to go subscribe to my twin, you can get some indie slop in between my AAA.
That's good, bro. Like, that's got some strong fucking 2000s energy. Like, literally, like the year 2000. This guy would be so cool. He would be so cool, man.
Thank you to Honey and Jakey and Jakey Attorneys at Law for sponsoring this video. Get at me on Instagram or Twitter, or don't. I can't enforce that as I am not your legal guardian. And I'll see you next time on The Game News. Good to be back. I got excited. I got more videos that work. I don't know why I always get more candid and sincere right at the end. Anyway, be back. Gamers forever.
Yeah, gamers forever, guys. Gamers forever, and even before forever, because we pre-ordered, huh? Isn't that awesome? Pre-ordering video games. Paying for a game that's not out yet. Based off of a review, based off of a version of the game
Having wool
not the
banded.
game you're going to get that you already paid for.
Ooh, do we have enough medium leather yet?
That's
I don't
it.
think we
It's
do.
over.
That's a bummer.
And speak for yourself, I never pre-order. Who cares what you do?
Wool bandages?
Who gives a shit?
Do I
Over
have a
million
bunch of wool
people
bandages by
hit level
chance?
20 in the first
Oh.
weekend of the Diablo 4
Darn
beta.
it.
That's just the masses have spoken. And they're voting with their dollars, and you ain't voting at all. What about pre-ordering already established games like WoW? Bro, buy whatever you want. I'm not going to tell you what the fuck to do. The thing I want me to go like, oh, this is what you need to do. You can't do this. You got to do that. Bitch, I do whatever the fuck you want.
Nice. I got the
If you want it, Biden ruined pre-orders.
quest finished.
No, he didn't. I wish
Let's
he did.
go.
But no, he did not. Let's see here. It is what it is. Yeah, watch the PoE 2 in 9 minutes video. Yeah, I guess I'll watch that. Yeah, let me link you guys this video. This shit is funny. I feel like it's like everybody has just kind of come to this point now where like we just need to accept that. I mean, the game is not going to be getting that much better. It is what it is now, and it ain't going to change. This is just how it is. You deal with it. Yeah, you just gotta live with it. Yeah, that's
What's up, Raina?
We lost.
How you doing?
They won. They gonna buy the new bro. Whenever the new Pokemon game comes out, they gonna buy it. Why is that? Because they grew up playing Pokemon. That's it. It's got nothing to fucking do with, oh, well, it's because of the quality of the game, and then because the Charizard is really cool, and that's it. Yeah, the new Zelda game. Yeah, it's that simple. There, I'll link you guys. This is a good video. I really appreciate this dude, man. Like, I really do. Jakey's like the one cousin that you like, but you can't see till Christmas. Whenever you see him, you're entertained for the time he's there. Thank you, Jakey. That's cute. I like that. That's really nice. Yeah, I never heard Michael Clayton until 10 minutes ago. I don't know who that is. I actually don't. Man, thank you for making the distinction between developers and publishers. Yeah, I mean, like, but nobody really gives a fuck. Like, basically, if you work on a game, if you are on the Q8, if you are on the social media team for a game,
For the people that are
if
watching,
that game gets released and
you
it's
guys
fucked up,
like the
that's you. You did that.
the 3-column
You
setup,
fucked the game up. I knew it.
or is it too much?
That's it. Like, there's no, like, people not going to think. Like, you can't expect people to think. That's too much work.
Cat Danny.
So there's going to be more. I think there's going to be more and more ads in video games. It's not even going to, it's not going to stop. It's just going to get worse, okay? That would straight up make me not buy a game. Yeah, but then whenever every game has it, what happens? And then, like, you say that, and then finally the game that you like has one of them, and you're like, oh, well, it's not that bad. And then you start doing it, and then they break the ice, then all of them have it, and that's it. You know, that's how it goes.
Advertisements.
Oh,
AKA
no.
Ads, aka that thing you see everywhere, all of the time. No matter where you go,
Constantly.
no matter what you do, ads can and will find you, Brian. That is a certainty
sure
in
do.
life, along with death and taxes and that thing when the waiter says, "Enjoy your food," and you say,
you
"I love
too.
you too, senpai." In video
Oh, yeah,
games,
okay.
the beautiful, magical world of escapism and wonder that is video game, sadly, it no exception. Video games have been tainted with the that is video.
I don't know.
And get
what
over
the
here and
video
swap
game
over to my warrior, I believe, guys.
Like, I remember seeing this one back at, like, Game Crazy or EB Games, something like this. I really, yeah, it's a fucking, it's a banana or a boomerang.
Dude, I remember seeing that.
I don't know which one.
I thought it was cool.
Controller. Well, to be fair, they probably should have made that for me. I threw my controller all the time.
Reminded me of the N64 controller.
Game, sadly, it no exception. Video games have been tainted with the foul odor and slimy snail trail of product placement and advertising for many a fortnight. Pun intended. Some
That's a good one.
unfriended. But is all advertising in video games bad? Are some ads for good and not just greed? How did we get here? And where the hell are we going, Brian? Dude, you're driving, just hand me your phone. Multitasking is not one of your starting attributes, Brian. The year is 1970.
I feel like pretty much every kid who's like 17 who drives now is on the phone. Like anytime, like, cause my dad, it just makes him so fucking pissed off. Cause like we'll be sitting there behind somebody and he's like, oh, the light's green. Why isn't he going? I'm like, well, what do you mean? He's like, why isn't he driving? Your light's green. He's in the car. He's driving the car. I'm like, oh, he's on his phone. He's like, well, what do you mean they're on their fucking phone? How are they supposed to just be on their fucking phone? Aren't they supposed to be, I don't know, driving? I'm like, you know.
Get rid of it. Run a little better. All these unnecessary things. Ben Shapiro versus let's watch.
No living being should ever eat processed food for every.
My dog might just.
Good evening from London. Welcome to Piers Morgan Uncensored. Ben Shapiro is one of the most talked about political pundits on the planet. When he sounds off, people listen. And as of this week, they've been listening to him rapping. Yes, you heard that correctly. The man who once infamously said, fact, rap isn't music. And if you think it is, you're stupid, sparking international outrage, currently has, this is true, the #1 hip-hop single in the United States. We'll find out why and frankly how a little later. But when he's not dropping the rap beats, Ben Shapiro's day job is dropping hard truths. At least that's how he sees it. He's incisive and, as I say, to some incendiary takes on politics, on Trump, on liberal insanity, and of course on the Israel-Hamas war, are put in front and center of the debates we're all having. So tonight, I'm going to have a few debates myself with Ben Shapiro. And Ben, the host of the Ben Shapiro Show, and editor emeritus of the Daily Wire, joins me now. Ben, well, first of all, I don't know quite how to say this with a straight face, but congratulations on being the #1 rap hip-hop star in the world.
So first of all, you shouldn't say that with a straight face because it's legitimately the funniest thing maybe in the history of mankind. It's ridiculous and silly and hilarious. And yes, we're very much for it. So yo, yo, yo. From Dr. Dreidel to you.
Well, we're going to come back to your hip-hop career a little later. But let's just focus on where we left off last time. I interviewed you 4 days after the appalling terror attacks of October the 7th, when emotions were very raw. And I asked you directly then about what you felt would be a proportionate response by Israel to what Hamas did.
Dang, my voice was like cut up there, guys.
And this is what you said.
All right, there we go.
Frankly, I don't believe in proportionate response to terrorism. I believe that the way that you stop terrorism is with wildly disproportionate response. That doesn't mean in terms of targeting civilians. It means in terms of killing as many terrorists as humanly possible.
So my question is today, what is the going rate today for human lives? I mean, 2014 was a great year for Ben Shapiro. 88 Israelis were died, and there was 2,329 Palestinians killed on the other side. That is one Israeli for 27 Palestinians. That is a very good exchange rate. What I'm saying is, what is the exchange rate for today? So you guys will be happy.
So that was Bassem Youssef's response to you saying, effectively, when you deal with terrorism, there should be no sense of proportion. First of all, your response to what he said there.
Listen, Bassem is a very smart guy, and I don't think that sarcasm or bad analogies or moral equivalence are really substitutes for realism or moral clarity about situations like fighting terrorism. No one wants civilians to die, except for Hamas. Hamas actually does want civilians to die, but nobody rejoices when civilians die. No one is looking for an exchange rate of death for death. The point that I was making is that when you are talking about, for example, legal proportionality in terms of just war. What you're talking is about proportionality to achieve your target. There is no actual math that goes into a war where you say, if a certain number of people die on this side versus a certain number of people die on that side, therefore the war is unjust. That's not exactly how war works. War is geared toward achieving a certain goal. Achieving that goal, if it is a moral goal, is moral. And then the question is, what is the minimum amount of force that you need to use in order to achieve that goal? That's what we were talking about when we talk about proportionality. When you're fighting a war like Israel is currently fighting in the Gaza Strip, in which Hamas has embedded itself in virtually every area of life, in civilian neighborhoods, in schools, in hospitals, beneath cemeteries. When you see Hamas do this sort of stuff, the question is, what level of force must Israel use in order to extirpate that terrorist presence and that terrorist threat? And frankly, Israel would love to do that with a minimum of both Palestinian death and Israeli death, considering that more than 200 Israeli soldiers have been killed in the Gaza Strip. I mean, I'm 1 degree removed from 3 of the soldiers who've been killed in the Gaza Strip. For Israel, that's a heavy burden. Beyond that, Israel has no interest in mass killing of Palestinians. They were perfectly happy
Oh, it's
to leave
over.
the Gaza
Nice.
Strip completely alone, despite
least they
heavy
got
rocket
the-
fire for full-on 20 years, from 2005 all the way up till 2023. It's 18 years, and Israel did not participate in, for example, the kind of.
I thought I had
action
gotten
we're
my,
seeing, which is a
mount on
direct
this guy,
result
but-
of October 7th. The goal for Israel
Maybe not.
is to extirpate Hamas. All of this could be over literally tomorrow. And by the way, every day since October 7th, if the leaders of Hamas walked out, held their hands up, took deportation. We're not even talking about an Israeli jail. There's probably a deal on the table right now for Hamas leaders to actually
getting
be
hot.
sent just to some third-party country. If they were to surrender the hostages, surrender power, and leave, this war would be over like immediately.
Okay, well, let me
But
take you
Hamas
up.
will not do that. They've been firing rockets into Tel Aviv literally this week.
Right, let me take you up on that, because I don't think it would end that way, because I think the trouble with what's been going on since we last spoke in terms of proportion is, I saw a BBC report yesterday that the UN were reporting that 19,000 children in Gaza have now been orphaned. Another 10,000 children are reported by the Hamas-run Palestinian Health Authority have been killed. 50 to 60% of Gazan buildings have been severely damaged or completely destroyed. And I don't see any nearness to the end of this, because by Israel's own numbers, they've only killed, if you believe their numbers, and I'm not quite sure how they know this, under 10,000 Hamas terrorists. That means that 2/3 of the Hamas terrorists are still to be taken out. So this could go on for many months, maybe a year, and those numbers of civilians being killed will exponentially rise, and the devastation in Gaza will reach a point where there is no real Gaza left. And I don't understand here, Ben, what the end game is for Israel. I'm not even sure they've worked it out themselves, other than to just obliterate everything in what many see as an overreaction to what happened by a superpower that hasn't thought through the consequences of taking out the whole of Gaza.
It's certainly hard to deem an overreaction to the murder of 1,200 of your citizens and more than 100 hostages still being kept by a terror group in destroying buildings, for example. Right now, what Israel is attempting to do and what the long-term plan is going to be, and I said this in the interview, as you'll recall, days after October 7th, is that there would, in fact, be a long-term military occupation of Gaza. The question is going to be when Israel shifts its strategy from a high-intensity campaign to a lower-intensity occupation, which is predictably going to be the result of all of this. Because, again, the governing power in Gaza is still Hamas. When Hamas is no longer the governing power, the question is going to be what replaces it. Unfortunately, there's been no power other than Israel that has been willing to actually take up that question, simply because the Palestinian Authority is incapable of even running the West Bank. The Palestinian Authority is deeply unpopular even in the West Bank. The Palestinian Authority is itself rife with corruption and Jew hatred. There's literally law on the books in the Palestinian Authority, pay for slay, that actually pays people for the killing of Jews. So that is not a power that can be in charge of the Gaza Strip that will leave Israel with any sort of sense of security. The UAE has no interest in running the Gaza Strip. Egypt has no interest in running the Gaza Strip. Jordan has no interest in running the Gaza Strip. Saudi has no interest in running the Gaza Strip. The United States obviously has no interest in running the Gaza Strip. So the question becomes, who runs the Gaza Strip? And if you are Israel, that question is not a question for a distant day. That is a question for every day. And right now, the military is effectively in control of the Gaza Strip, and that is likely to remain until there is some form of regime in the Gaza Strip that can be put in place that will end with the extirpation of terrorism, that cannot involve the UNRWA, which is a terror haven, that cannot involve the UN, because the UN, unfortunately, has been cover for Hamas for literally 20 years. And so the question here is a tough one, and it's not an answerable one in kind of right now. And that's sort of the problem. Just because there's no good answer to the question doesn't mean that the question isn't urgent or that there's an alternative option available to what Israel is doing. What I've been missing in all of this is what exactly is the alternative option that has been presented by anyone other than Israel continuing on its quest to extirpate Hamas so long as Hamas is holding its citizens, firing rockets into the center of Israel and threatening
All right,
Israel's
let's go
life.
clean this up.
Okay, my response to that would be that I think it's morally incumbent on Israel, who I've already said many times and believe to this day have not just a moral right to defend themselves, but a duty to their citizens to do so. So let's just park that to one side. My position on that has not changed. It's just how they've gone about it. And, you know, only yesterday we saw Israel forces dressing up both as, you know, in Hamas-style clothes and Palestinian clothes to go into a hospital on the West Bank and take out 3 Hamas terrorists. And there are many people, you know, impartial observers who say that what they did there contravenes international law, that they're effectively committing war crimes because it's a violation of international law to feign protected status, in this case by dressing up as a doctor or patient, in order to invite the confidence of the adversary and then proceed to kill or injure them. And it's also against international law for combatants who've been incapacitated by wounds or sickness and are protected from attack as persons ordered combat. So if they're paralyzed or incapacitated, an attack on that individual is prohibited by international law. So I look at that, and it seems to be a prima facie case of Israel breaking the law. Do you defend that?
Yes, I defend that. Because if Hamas, or in this case Islamic Jihad, is using a hospital as a terror base, which they have historically done, then the violation of international law is on them. I mean, by all international law, using a hospital as a terror base, which we have seen in the Gaza Strip, we're currently seeing in the West Bank as well, that's the war crime. I always find it very bizarre that international law is invoked when it comes to a response to a war crime, but not to the original war crime. If you use a hospital as a terror base, then the hospital is no longer only a hospital. It also becomes a site from which terror is emanating. And so when Israel engages in a targeted military operation, by the way, not killing any civilians in this particular operation, killing people who are clearly terrorists, that is the war crime as opposed to terrorists using the hospital as an organizing base. That seems to me peculiar.
Well,
please just leave me alone.
International law, yeah, it is.
Christ.
It was a war crime. You can't dress up effectively as doctors and patients and take out people who are being treated, which is what appears.
There's one in a little bit.
Well, it's unclear whether they were being treated or whether they're.
Doesn't look like there's that many people signed up for him, man.
Anyway. Look, I think that the problem is when you talk about this, you talk with great clarity and you have a certainty about how you think this all plays out. I think what you may underestimate, and correct me if you disagree with this, but I don't understand how the kind of devastation we're seeing now in Gaza, the kind of huge death toll on children and women in particular, who have nothing to do with this, obviously, how that is going to not just lead to a whole new radicalization of Palestinians that will replace Hamas. So yeah, Hamas may well get permanently dismantled. They're clearly being killed in large numbers, and clearly the underground tunnel operations are being dismantled, and Netanyahu's made it clear he'll keep going until the end. So assume that Hamas are removed effectively. Why do you think, Ben, that doing this in the way that Israel's doing it is not just going to lead to a whole new breeding
What's
ground
up, Pluggus? How you doing, man? Thank you for stopping by.
Kids, wives, and so on.
Don't let Rat in here.
Exact revenge. How does it make Israel safer?
I think Rat knows not to come in here and talk too much.
It makes Israel safer by not allowing the governing party in that region to actually be fomenting the violence, providing weaponry, providing education to small children that reinforces.
What's up, dude?
Jew hatred and anti-Semitism.
Well, welcome to the stream.
In these areas. That's sort of like asking in the aftermath of World War II. There had been so much unbelievable devastation in Germany, in Italy, throughout continental Europe. How is it the Western powers could expect that there wouldn't be an entire generation of people who would rise up in revenge for all of that? And
are you ready for the next season, dude?
The rebuilding process is going to have to take place. This is currently why, from my understanding, Israel is negotiating
where
with
I can. Hey, thank you.
The UAE, trying to bring Saudi Arabia.
I appreciate just the
some sort of
you bumping me up in the
of
The
the Gaza
Twitch
Strip. That's gonna
algorithm,
take
man.
outside money. That's going to take a long-term effort. This is not something that can happen overnight.
Yeah,
I think one of the big
325s,
problems
man.
with
I
policy
almost have
is
3.
very often that people are looking for the immediate.
I almost have
solution at the
4,
expense
but
of
I just
the
need to
realistic
spend some more
solution.
time
The
on them.
realistic solution in an area of the world where conflicts go thousands.
I think
of years deep
realistically, I'm
is
going
not
to stick
something
to
that's
like
gonna happen
2.
next week. It's going to have to actually require heavy rebuilding, heavy
Going
monetary
to
investment, but monetary
60
investment
and
not
40.
via groups that are linked to terror and sponsor terror and foment terror.
Keep
but
a few
linked to
levels
groups that
in
actually are
between.
going to promote
That way, if
quiescence.
people
They're
want to
actually
like
gonna promote
start playing with me, I have a
moderation.
low,
They're actually gonna promote
lower
a
level
future
character
in
to
this
play with
region of
people.
the world where both parties can coexist.
When I
Hunter Lock
interviewed you,
Paladin.
I
That's
later
awesome, dude.
interviewed
I have
Andrew
a lock,
Tate
or no, I have
several
a
weeks in Romania.
Paladin
He said
Warrior
this.
and a Hunter, and then I have a level 18
So Ben is a
rogue.
warmonger. Ben has been wrong on basically every single issue.
I don't prefer my
He
Paladin, but I
believes
got
in
the
vaccine
Hydra,
and
so I feel
every other
obligated.
war. Ben is
Nice,
always
dude. I want that
calling for
weapon
other
so
people's young men
bad.
to go and die in some war. He seems to love it. I don't know if he has short.
Oh my
man
God, I
syndrome.
ran
He's
over to
always
my
behind his
quest
desk
thing
calling
without
about
my
how important
body.
it is that big strong men like me go
I'm
and
baked.
die.
I mean, apart from the puerile name calling and stuff, his point there that you're a warmonger. Your response?
I mean, if the question is whether Israel has a right to defend itself, the answer is of course. And if the idea is that somehow I'm asking Israeli soldiers to die, Israel is quite unified in its goal. So I'm not sure exactly who he's talking about. The sort of chicken hawk argument simply would not even apply under these circumstances. As far as war, I think that every single conflict the United States should get in, I'm an American citizen, I'm an American. Every conflict the United States gets in we ought to be asking, what is the actual American goal? What is the actual American interest? Which is, for one reason, why I didn't support the war in Libya during the Obama administration. It's why I was very skeptical of American interventionism, whether covert or overt, during the Arab Spring. I thought that was going to end quite poorly. So, again, I think that that's inaccurate, but it's Andrew Tate, so I'm not supremely surprised by that. I'm not sure, exactly what his level of knowledge is on foreign policy issues other than sort of the braggadocio.
And his thing that he's a big guy, tough guy, and you've got small man syndrome.
I'm not sure what to make of that. I mean, I guess that, if your version of manhood is walking around shirtless, smoking cigars in Romania, then I guess you can have that. That's okay. I mean, sure. My version of masculinity is a little bit different. It's, being married with 4 children and raising a family in a solid community, but I guess to each his own.
Do you think Andrew Tate is a good influence on young men in particular around the world? He seems to have a very big one. Is it a good one?
I think that Andrew Tate says, as I've said on your show before, I think that his diagnosis of some problems is correct. I think that his actual prognosis and recommendations for solving
Dude, these guys are
more
these guys are
frequently than
talking
not
shit about the
deeply
top G, dude. I don't know if I can
Something,
keep watching.
Yesterday, I think, which got a lot of attention online. I just want to quickly ask you about this. It involves a woman called Rachel Corrie. I'm sorry. It was posted yesterday. You originally tweeted it in 2011.
There's
You said, "I would love to
differing
write a book called
opinions."
Great Idiots of History." Rachel Corrie would make the list.
Yeah, there's top G
And it got
mentality and there's
retweeted
fucking
yesterday and
not.
Started fizzing around the internet. When you look back at that tweet, do you have any regrets about the way you phrased that?
Fucking Andrew Tate, dude.
Not
He's as big of an
particularly. I
idiot
think
as
that
Ben
Rachel
Shapiro
Corrie,
is.
Her death was tragic, but that doesn't mean that she wasn't engaged in deep foolishness. That there are many members of the West who, unfortunately, do act as useful idiots for terror groups. Rachel Corrie was associated with the International Solidarity Movement. She was in the Gaza Strip in Rafah, Gaza in 2003 when Israel was conducting military
Dude,
operations.
is this
in the
guy
middle of
like
the
a
Second Intifada.
person?
She was blocking a site that
Dude.
Israel had suggested was
Guy's
actually
just,
being
like,
used to hide
sitting
terror
over
tunnels,
here?
which, as we now
This is
know, is a
creepy.
frequent tactic being used in the Gaza Strip, and she planted herself in the
Look,
blind spot.
Rat
of
belongs
a
in this
bulldozer.
guy's guild.
Her death was a tragic accident. It's tragic. That doesn't mean that she wasn't acting as a useful idiot on behalf of far more nefarious forces.
There we go,
She's a
boys.
young woman who got bulldozed to death. And this was 13 years ago.
Ben's new
You're a
rap
different
song is
character. I
interesting.
wonder whether
Wait, he actually has a rap song? Oh,
So this game,
Frequent tactic being used in the Gaza Strip, and she planted.
there it is. Am I gonna get banned for this?
They can't cancel my message because I'm the biggest independent rapper in the whole freaking world. Claim that I'm racist, yeah, right. I'm not ashamed because I'm white. If every Caucasian's a bigot, I guess every Muslim's a terrorist. Every liberal is right. I don't want to talk to folks who don't get it. Go woke, go broke, no hope. It's pathetic. Pro-choice, pronouns, pro-love, you're progressive. But you ain't pro-gun, no one to protect it. Where the American flags at? Remember when people would hang those? They've been taken down, they all been replaced with BLM flags or a rainbow. This ain't rap, this ain't money, cars and clothes. We ain't selling drugs.
Hello, well, maybe.
We ain't pushing guns, ain't promoting stripper poles. We won't turn your sons into thugs or your daughters into hoes. I don't care if I offend you. I was put here to upset you. You can cry and you can scream. You can riot in the streets. You defunded the police. Now there's no one to protect you. I hope I offend
It's actually kind of a banger, dude.
you. I ask myself what would Ben do. Let's just keep it real facts. Don't care how you feel, man. If you want my pronouns, I'm the man. I'm the man who don't respect.
Let's look at the stats. I've got the facts. My money like Lizzo, my pockets are fat. Homie, I'm epic. Don't be a whack. Dog, it's a yarmulke. Homie, no cap. Look at the graphs. Look at my charts. You're blowing money on strippers and cars. You go into prison. I'm on television. Dog, no one knows who you are. Keep hating on me on the internet. My comment section all woke Karens. And I make racks off compound interest. Y'all live with your parents. Nikki, take some notes. I just did this for fun. All my people download this. Let's get a billboard number one.
This ain't rap. This ain't money. We ain't selling drugs. We ain't gonna overdose. We ain't pushing guns. Ain't promoting stripper poles. We won't turn your sons into thugs or your daughters into hoes. I don't care if I offend you. I was put here to upset you. You can cry and you can scream. You can riot in the streets. You defunded the police. Now there's no one to protect you. I hope I offend you. I ask myself what would Ben do. Let's just keep it
What would Ben do?
real, man. If you want my pronouns, I'm the man. I'm the man who don't.
You don't want to like it? I mean, it's not like they're like fucking preaching something that's not like actually truthful. So
You just try to get attention, being triggered's all you have. You mad, you mad, you mad. You blame everybody else for every problem that you can. You sad, you sad, you sad. I will never say I'm sorry, I ain't taking nothing back. I don't care if I offend you. I was put here to upset you. You can cry and you can scream. You can riot in the streets. You defend
also, you gonna sit here and tell me this guy hasn't visited a few strippers? Are you gonna sit here and tell me that this guy hasn't visited a few stripper poles in his day? I think you're wrong.
the police. Now there's no one to protect you. I hope I offend you. I ask myself what would Ben do. Let's just keep it real facts. Don't care how you feel, man. If you want my pronouns, I'm the man. I'm the man who don't respect you.
Goddamn, dude. That was really well produced, actually. You know what? We should watch this. What we should watch.
Hola, mi nombre es Andrew Callahan y hoy estamos en una ciudad que se llama Eagle Pass, una ciudad.
Oh, come on, man. Oh. Oh, no, not you. Flash wave. I don't wanna fight you. I wanna fight you. Oh. Oh. I wanna fight. Oh. Ick. Interesting spokesperson to be with Shapiro. Yeah, I guess. I don't know. Just because you got a bunch of tattoos and stuff on you, I guess doesn't mean that you can't talk to Ben Shapiro, but maybe I'm wrong. I could be just judging a book by its cover. All right, guys. I don't know if any of you guys have watched any of Andrew Colligan's stuff. The guy's a legend. Channel 5. Channel 5. Channel 55.
En Texas, muy cerca a la frontera.
In our previous episode, we were in Arizona, in Gringo Pass, covering.
Hola, mi nombre es Andrew Callahan y hoy estamos en una ciudad que se llama Eagle Pass, una ciudad en Texas muy cerca a la frontera.
In our previous episode, we were in Arizona, in Gringo Pass, covering the border situation there. But in the grand scheme of human traffic, Gringo Pass is small potatoes compared to Eagle Pass.
In the past couple of years, or past couple months, Eagle Pass has kind of been the center of the border crisis in the U.S., mainly because the border here is less fortified.
It's a river instead of a wall, and you can't build a wall in the river, I don't think. Plus, from a population perspective, Eagle Pass is in a pretty remote area, and so for a long time, our government paid it no mind.
The Border Patrol and ICE's budget is about $17 and $18 billion per year, and they spend most of that money fortifying more traffic borders, like the border between El Paso and Juarez, San Ysidro and Tijuana, and even Laredo in South Texas.
Which has caused the cartel that controls human smuggling routes along the border to shift their operations to this dandy little town, which up until this year was virtually unknown, aside from being the place where no country for old men was filmed.
Eagle Pass has been on the map recently, more in the past 1, 2 to maybe 3 years, more than it's been like its whole life.
The scene yesterday in Eagle Pass, Texas has become quite familiar.
Texas has taken control of a park in Eagle Pass in the fight over the state's razor wire on the border. The Biden administration is asking the high court to let Border Patrol officers take it down because it's interfering with federal law.
Thousands are crossing here. Like we had like a couple weeks ago, like 6,000 crossing one night, like just caravans of them come through. Elon Musk came a couple weeks ago. I feel like, I mean, it's cool he's coming and putting some attention on it because we're trying to get help. Like this is getting out of hand. Like a lot of business owners are complaining. It's getting like to be a big deal, you know?
In our previous coverage along the Arizona border, I got the chance to speak to many migrants of different origin, some from Guatemala, some from Guinea, some from Senegal, and some from Bangladesh. And though their stories were all quite different, the common thread between them was economic uncertainty and political instability in their home country, which they were happy to tell me about. What I wasn't able to gather a lot of information about was the actual process of being trafficked by a coyote. And so after leaving Arizona, I came into contact with 2 coyotes who live in Piedras Negras, the town across the border from Eagle Pass, who had somehow seen my show, and so agreed to give me an interview, as well as a complete ride-along and a tour of their operations. However, their meetup instructions were pretty sketchy. They refused to meet me across the border in Texas, and instead insisted that I walk over the border on foot to meet them on the other side. So I figured that just to be safe, I'd find a local bilingual friend to help walk me across.
Sorry, I was coming in a little hot, guys.
So I hit up local rapper Cheddar.
Yeah, dude, it is fucking crazy what's going on.
Riding with 50 racks, so I keep me a strap on my lap and a strap in the back. Riding with 20 bags of the gas in the trunk, gotta serve like the whole Eagle Pass. And I got EP on my back, so I do what I do to put us on the map. Remember way back in like 2016 when young Cheddar had married the trap.
Cheddar is born and raised in Eagle Pass, and growing up had a lot of friends and family who were involved in the coyote business.
So how much does it typically cost to have a coyote transport you across the river?
It can go, I've heard different ranges. I've heard 5,000, 10,000. That's just like crossing the river. Then you still have to pay a couple thousand to like get taken up to San Antonio. Because leaving Eagle Pass, there's a checkpoint. Like any city you go to from here, you're gonna get stopped by Border Patrol just to make sure you're a U.S. citizen, and then you're good to go. So really, you gotta pay another couple thousand to make it out of the city. So people end up spending like 20 bands, bro. Like to go from Mexico to Chicago, San Antonio, anywhere up where they're trying to work,
Jesus,
they spend
man.
15 to 20 bands for sure.
And do a lot of migrants cross without the help of a coyote?
A lot of them do, surprisingly.
That's crazy, man. These poor
I came
people.
across some, and I even talked to some. They say that with zero money, they came over here walking, like from Venezuela, Ecuador, Colombia, like all these different countries where the country's just so bad. They don't have like there's no light and water sources. There's no food, like things like that. No jobs, obviously. And they said Mexico's like the hardest part, that the police will always rob them, like $10, $20 that they might have, anything that.
I think it's crazy how a common Chicago is. Yeah. Well, I live in New Mexico, where I'm pretty close to this whole situation, man. And I remember going out like in a hunting and stuff, and we'd see like leftover stuff from people crossing the border and trying to get into the U.S. I'll be right back. I'm gonna let my dog in. Perfect. Thank you for the follow. Appreciate that, buddy. Appreciate that a lot. Sorry about that, guys. While I was away, I got one of my favorite snacks. It's a tortilla with butter, honey.
They'll take anything off you, like.
On Friday, they clashed with Mexican police here wearing riot shields. Some migrants jumped into the river using rafts to get across.
I'm very for them coming here and bettering their life. That's the thing. Like, I'm very for, like, I wish we had room for everybody, but there's just got to be a more structured way for sure. Like, I don't know the answer to it, but the answer to me is not send them back, because there's nothing for them. You're sending them back to where they can just get killed, starve, and live a life of poverty. Like, I wouldn't say sending them back is the answer. We got to figure out how we can budget and how we can have them here, you know?
1 p.m. was the time that I was scheduled to meet the coyotes, who told me on Signal that they were waiting for me on foot in a plaza across the bridge. Cheddar told me it takes no more than 5 minutes to get into Mexico from Eagle Pass. No border patrol, no customs, no nothing.
We're literally right at the bridge, so a couple 100 feet over there is the river. We're gonna walk over the river, over the bridge. We're gonna meet up with a coyote, professional coyote. He's gonna take you through his route. You're gonna go probably like over some like desert areas. So basically you're just gonna go through what an immigrant would have to go through without papers, for sure. How to cross into the United States with no papers.
Let's do it, man.
Let's do it.
Have you gone over there a lot, like growing up?
All the time, bro. I come and buy medicine. I come and get my contacts. Like a pair of contacts is like $8, bro.
We first pass a toll booth with 2 attendants who barely notice us.
It's pretty crazy how easy it is for us to cross.
Yup. If you got $1, you're good.
Cheddar gives a teller $1 US, and the border opens.
Thank you.
So we're now basically entering Mexico, and it was that easy.
That easy, bro. Once we get to the end of this bridge, there is like a little hut you go through, but they don't check for ID. They don't pat you down, nothing.
They don't check for ID.
They don't check for ID at all.
But then on the other hand, is that a Border Patrol boat?
Yeah.
So that's the Rio Grande right there, huh?
Yep. Oh, look, they're getting married right now. Oh, hell yeah. Hey, congratulations!
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Dude, that's
they're getting married
crazy.
on the bridge.
They're getting married so they can come in.
So he or she gets her citizenship.
Wow.
So, yes, that's how it works.
Well, some say it's the right way to come into the country. Others argue it's an immigration loophole
Motherfuckers.
as they exchange vows and say, I do, at the doorstep of our border.
So one of them is probably like full Mexican citizen, and one of them does have U.S. papers. So one of them marrying the other allows the other to now become a U.S. citizen.
30 seconds after witnessing the fascinating border marriage, me and Cheddar arrived in Mexico and entered the plaza where the coyotes said they'd be waiting.
All right, so we're in Mexico now.
We're in Mexico.
At first, we couldn't find them.
Oh shit, I think these fools are over here, bro.
Then, in the corner of the plaza, we saw 3 dudes, one with a gold chain and 2 others. I wasn't quite sure, but I think these are my guys.
What's up, bro? What's up? How you doing?
¿Qué onda, carnal?
Andrés.
¿Qué onda, carnal?
How you? What's going on, man? What's going on, bro?
To my surprise, these dudes couldn't have been older than maybe 20.
¿Qué es la plan? ¿Qué vamos a hacer?
Vive la experiencia, vaya, ¿no?
No, es mi primera vez.
¿Eso sería su primera vez?
Yeah, sí.
I told them it was my first time meeting a coyote, and they seemed a bit apprehensive. One of them began throwing up gang signs, and the other abruptly asked everyone except for me and my cameraman to leave.
Tú y tú, nada más.
Sí.
No, pues trataremos de tomar un taxi, iremos a punto donde lo vamos a llevar y para comenzar.
Para comenzar, ok.
Pero
Simón.
nomás les pediría que sean muy discretos porque
sí.
Hay varias cosas que pasan y no quiero que ocurra algo malo.
Simón.
Muy bien.
Be as like as discreet as possible.
They say the larger our group is, the more likely we are to draw negative attention.
Sí, nomás queremos que sea discreto y si pues van a grabar en la cámara, pues no sé si me pueden borrar a mí la cara.
Sí,
por favor.
Sí.
Porque no vaya a ocurrir algo mal. Pero pues bueno, vamos a darle, ¿no? ¿Quieren la experiencia?
Sí,
Venga, vamos.
To be honest, I was a bit alarmed here. My mom always taught me there was safety in numbers, and I crossed the border with Cheddar Blanco and my 2 cameramen, Larry Susan and Elliot. That made our collective number a solid 4, which is a good number, but now it seemed like if I wanted to continue the shoot, I more or less had to cut my crew in half. So I had to do a stern risk-reward analysis in regard to the potential danger that could be ahead. After all, I have 2 dogs to take care of, and not everything is worth it for the content. I recall about 2.5 years ago when I first began to take journalism seriously, my parents sat me down and gave me a simple demand. No cartel, no ISIS. And it was clear that if I continued the shoot, I'd be breaking Rule 1. But if I'd came this far, I wasn't about to leave. And so I sent my crew back to Texas.
I will see you back in Texas.
All right, brother, be safe.
All right, see you guys.
Keeping only Larry Susan by my side.
That's crazy,
as we enter
man.
a nondescript taxi cab, headed to God knows where. The taxi begins driving, eastbound, away from the border plaza and into the heart
Yeah,
of
dude, can you
Piedras
imagine?
Negras. For some context, Piedras is generally considered to be a pretty safe border town. It actually has the
I'd be
lowest
scared
homicide rate of
shitless,
any
dude.
border town on the Mexican side, and is literally 10 times safer than Tijuana or Juarez.
I grew
it's
up
also where nachos were invented,
like
80 years ago.
in
by a
some of the
man named
culture. Like
Ignacio
it
Medina,
wouldn't be
whose
that
simple
different for me, but
combination
like
of
I'd still
cheese
be
and
scared,
tortilla
man.
chips irreversibly altered the course of history. Plus, according to the U.S. State Department's travel advisories, Coahuila, which is the Mexican state that
Not even
Piedras
worth
is
it for the
in, has a level
content.
2 travel
Yeah.
advisory, which
I think
means to
Andrew's
exercise
past the
increased
content
caution.
phase.
So that's what I did. After
He's
a
trying
call,
to, like,
there was no backing out.
record history.
We were in the complete custody of these 2 teenage coyotes. who
Also,
said they were taking
plug
us
us,
to a stop along the
or
Rio Grande, where they'd been permitted to
or
operate
plug us-
by a larger
if-
parent
plug
organization,
us.
which will not be named. We continue to drive until we reach the outskirts of town.
Let me know if any of the audio needs to be adjusted.
The coyotes direct the driver to pull off behind the OXXO, which is like the Mexican 7-Eleven. And soon, we're driving on a remote road past what looks to me like the projects or something. I'm not sure how to explain it. It looked like a trailer park built with concrete, if that makes sense.
That's crazy.
Abruptly, we're instructed to immediately get out of the car, which is alarming and honestly quite disorienting, given the fact that I assumed we were going to the river. But still, my options for escape are pretty limited, so I figured it was time to just play it cool and do an interview.
Officer, allá en lado americano,
sí.
está Army, también hay en lado mexicano.
Okay.
Y esto también nos
Focus,
puede causar problemas a nosotros.
Sí, yo
Plug
entiendo.
us,
¿Es
okay.
peligroso o no?
Es muy peligroso porque muchas muertes.
peligroso, pero
Well, I appreciate you letting me know.
Sí.
Es peligroso para la gente que no sabe.
Para las hijos y abuelas como eso. Sí.
Sí. Nos ha pasado a nosotros que hemos cruzado niños.
They say that in terms of crossing the river, the shorter you are, the more dangerous it is. On a typical day, the Rio Grande is about 4 feet and 9 inches deep, which is just above the average height of an 8-year-old. And over 58% of Mexicans reported not being able to swim, so it's very possible for young migrants below the water depth to drown if they lose footing. Upon further research, I learned that most of the world actually cannot swim, and there's a direct correlation between socioeconomic status and swimming ability. For example, in Norway, where the median household income is $45,000 US, 97% of people can swim. But in countries like Bangladesh, Guatemala, and Guinea, where many of these migrants come from, that number is below 20%. So it's safe to say that most migrants, if not all migrants, cannot swim. I don't know why I was so surprised to learn this information. I guess I just assumed that swimming ability came naturally to all humans as a defense
Cool, I'm glad.
mechanism from drowning.
You
But
now
maybe I
have
thought this
me
because I
tied
was
into the
so young
story
when
with
I
your
learned to swim,
commentary.
the memory's been erased.
The actual
Who knows?
gameplay.
Life's a trip. Okay.
Now that I'm,
Porque
I
haces
expected
este
when
tipo de trabajo.
I launched this, dude, I'm glad.
Tal vez no fue un buen camino para tomar este trabajo, pero no hay de
I tell you
otra.
what, like, I honestly, I've been trying to like kind of work, because I enjoy watching videos and stuff while I play, but I don't necessarily always like. I don't think I'm Asmon Gold, right? But sometimes it's hard to know whether people are actually appreciating your own commentary, or if it's just like too much going on in the stream. So you reconfirming that helps a lot.
La ley es más fuerte.
Sí.
Tienes
Also,
que
very
buscar
interesting
donde
video.
sea bueno o malo, tal que tengas tu familia bien.
So young when I learned to swim, the memory's been erased. Who knows? Life's a trip. Okay, back to the coyotes.
¿Por qué haces este tipo de trabajo?
La necesidad del dinero.
Tal vez no fue un buen camino para tomar este trabajo, pero no hay de otra. Es la ley más fuerte.
Sí.
Tienes que buscar, o donde sea bueno o malo, tal que tengas tu familia bien.
Y eso es lo que intentamos.
¿Ustedes tienen mucha familia? ¿Hijos, hijas?
Yo tengo mis hermanos, tengo
Sí.
18
Yo
años.
también tengo mi familia.
Ok, 18.
Claro, tengo 18
I actually have a
años.
way to,
No, toda mi vida me la llevo pasando trabajando en esto. Pues digo, fue difícil más que nada, va. Pues vayas, tengo 18 años.
Sí.
Hay chavos de
Oh, I don't know what's
13,
gonna do to my,
14 que hacen lo mismo, va.
Sí.
Pero hay mucha gente, hasta da tristeza que miran en los periódicos noticias, gente muerta, ahogada.
He says that while this job is lucrative, seeing how many migrants drowned in the river has taken an emotional toll on him.
3 migrants have died near Shelby Park in Eagle Pass. A woman and 2 children drowned in the Rio Grande River.
4 migrants, including an infant, have drowned in Eagle Pass.
Again, it's unclear what can happen at any moment, and this is the risk that these people take. And, you know, sometimes there's kids involved.
He says that he tries his best to keep his clients safe, but the river is unpredictable, and so oftentimes there's nothing he can do to save them, particularly if they've been carried away by an undercurrent.
El agua es peligrosa.
Hay veces que sube y baja.
En el agua que
Almost died,
abajo del agua se hacen remolinos y te arrastran para
Sorry,
abajo.
guys.
Y tú ya no tienes forma de salir.
They say that almost all migrants are well aware of the risks, but still cross the river anyway.
Porque, pues, vaya, todos quieren el sueño de estar allá en Estados Unidos.
Porque hay el sueño como eso.
¿Cómo?
Pero Estados Unidos es difícil para más personas también. Porque todas las personas quieren ir al norte.
Sí, es que todos piensan, tienen la mentalidad de aquí, unos se van y los que están aquí y los nuevos que van, pues los que van creciendo les dicen que allá es lo mejor. Sí. Pagan mejor, buena comida, buenas casas. Yeah. Pero yo he estado allá y he vivido realmente, no sé, he estado encerrado, trabajando encerrado. Sí. Es lo único. Pero pues de algo sí sirvió, pues es lo único que voy hacia allá es ganar dinero.
Sí. ¿Y tú quieres ir a los Estados Unidos también?
No, realmente ya no. Ahorita estoy muy bien aquí.
He says that he has no desire to immigrate into the U.S. Having worked a minimum wage job in San Antonio, he feels that many migrants who cross the river have an unrealistic expectation of what their life will be like in the U.S. But nonetheless, he doesn't challenge their fantasies or try to give them a reality check. Instead, he takes their money. After all, behind importing drugs, trafficking migrants is the most lucrative trade in town.
¿Cuánto cuesta para en típico para personas?
Pues es que ahorita hay mucha gente haciéndolo.
I gotta change some stuff around before I can do that. I'll do that when I'm offline.
Depende si tú quieres llevarte a alguien de aquí de Piedras Negras.
Swap it back to normal for now. Basically, I have a way of showing the gameplay a little bit smaller and the video bigger.
De aquí a San Anto, a Houston, eran $8,000, levantador, con el que te recoge alimento, el que cruza, todo, paquete completo.
They say that just to cross the Rio Grande with a coyote is about $3,000 US, but transportation to Austin, Texas is another $5,000. However, very few people are currently purchasing the full package, and instead are simply crossing the river and deliberately putting
it's a good layout.
in
Okay,
Border Patrol
thanks.
custody
Appreciate
to begin
that.
the asylum-seeking process.
¿Tienes problemas con la policía o no?
No.
No. Es difícil pero los migra a Estados Unidos y Border Patrol hay problemas.
Yeah, I agree. I need to figure out a different way to hide the chest.
They say that
stuff.
both Mexican federales and municipal police turn a blind eye
You know what I
to
can
their
probably
activities,
do?
but the U.S. Border Patrol has been very vigilant, and so we're heading to a place with far less Border Patrol presence than the port of entry.
I'm not as worried
This,
about it
while
on
safer for
Twitch.
them, has a lot of negatives for migrants. Despite generally being
Also,
portrayed in a negative
he's
light by the
offline,
media,
so we can probably
Border
just
Patrol's job isn't just
worry too
to
much about it.
apprehend and detain migrants. It's also to save them. Since 2014, Border Patrol has successfully executed over 25,000 rescues of migrants, many of whom are often found actively drowning in the river in Texas, which unfortunately happens almost every other day in the Rio Grande.
Mira, te voy a contar algo. Un día íbamos con un camarada, el que nos enseñó. Íbamos normalmente y pues eso es obvio, varios tienen muchas brechas, vaya. Sí. Y pues encontramos un cuerpo ahí ahogado. Sí. Eso me hizo sentir como miedo. Sí. A todos. Cuando miras a una persona muerta, es miedo. Le calculaba unos 32.
Yeah, I agree. 35, I think I'm going to change that overlay.
Sí. Si lo miraba muy bien, tenía como 3 días ya ahí ahogado, tirado.
¿Ustedes trabajan para ustedes o tienes una boss?
No, normalmente teníamos una base.
Somos los boss.
Okay, sí.
It wouldn't be as intense. Yeah. It was a fun idea. It worked somewhat. I need to revisit the idea a little bit. but
so long as
might do
they're
that
not
tomorrow.
stealing clients away from the larger
While I
parent
have
organization.
downtime.
As we continue to walk, I ask them if they see themselves as criminals.
Or at least when I'm
They
not
say
able to
no.
stream.
Yo no me considero criminal. Yo soy una buena persona. Hago cosas malas para hacerlas buenas.
Sí.
O creo que sí se dice, hago cosas malas que parecen buenas.
¿Crees en Dios?
Creía en Dios. Mucho creía en Dios.
Yo sí.
Yo sé que existe, pero yo soy voto a la Santa Muerte.
Sí.
Like many people involved in Mexico's criminal underworld, these coyotes worship a deity called Santa Muerte, aka the Holy Death, the most controversial saint in the Catholic faith.
Primeramente, siempre me encomiendo a Dios. Mi Santa Muerte, cuando usted quiera me voy.
Perhaps known most recently as being portrayed in Breaking Bad as the god worshipped by the Salamanca twins, Santa Muerte, along with Jesus Malverde, are generally portrayed by the media as being narco saints. However, this is not the full picture. She's worshipped by many different groups in Mexican society who are living on the margins, where death is a constant force, and sometimes an inevitability, such as those living in an area that is constantly besieged by violence, those suffering from terminal illness, or, much like the adherents of the Satanic Temple in America, by contrarians who detest the influence of rigid Catholic values on Mexican society.
A lot of people join to some level to be kind of contrarian.
Yeah,
it's no
I probably
surprise
should
that
use
the
it more
Catholic
often.
Church officially condemns and rejects Santa Muerte.
Well, actually, you
the
can't
Vatican
see it.
referred to it as a devil.
I have
a
it,
demon,
where
and
my,
an insult to the Christian faith. But on a larger cultural level, it's not supposed to symbolize the worship.
It's
of
where my
death,
camera's
but
at.
instead a symbol of hope to help people deal with the existential dread.
Good idea, though.
that
I should use that more when I'm
Santa
trying to find my
Muerte
body.
asks her worshippers to cherish death instead of being afraid of it. She asks that we not fear mortality, but accept it as all of our shared fates, and reminds us that death is not the end, but actually the beginning to the afterlife. It's thought
But you
that the
always
first
forget? Yeah,
appearance
me
of a
too.
death deity or skeletal Grim Reaper type figure emerged in medieval Europe in the wake of the Black Plague, which killed a third of the continent's population in under a decade. But there was also an Aztec deity called Moctlan the god of death, who was often appeased during ritual human sacrifices performed by the Aztecs, who, along with the Mayans, controlled most of Mexico until 1521 AD. So, this god of death figure existed in both Spanish colonial and pre-colonization indigenous religions, but almost fell into cultural obscurity until the Mexican drug war began in 2006, leading to a collective 360,000 homicides. Anyways, back to the interview.
Cuando tú fue joven, ¿tu familia fue pobre, no?
Y ahorita mi familia son de Michoacán. Allá ellos son ellos.
Y tú trabajas aquí y después la dinero das a tu madre y papá y hermanos.
Tengo hermanos y mi mamá. Lamentablemente mi papá falleció, pero eso no me agüita. Que, pues lo único que pienso es de que,
Poor guy, dude.
que mis hermanas estén bien, que no.
But at the same time, not poor guy.
Que no miren.
Kind of I can't see a piece of shit. I don't know.
Un mal camino como yo lo estoy haciendo.
Fathom Blade, yeah, I have Fathom Blade.
¿Miedo
dude.
sobre ese tipo de trabajo?
Miedo.
Sí.
Yo soy el miedo.
I haven't got the Hydra yet.
¿Verdad?
Así de ser.
I could actually probably go raid if I wanted to tonight, but
Pero si
I've been,
no,
I've been
agarras el miedo,
prioritizing trying to get some
tomas,
gold and stuff before this next
él te va a
season.
comer.
Sí.
Él te come. El miedo es puramente la mentalidad. Nunca, no se ha topado de que, no sé, un vato muy fuerte levantó un carro.
Sí.
Un auto muy pesado. Es pura mentalidad. Pues la mentalidad es la que te está comiendo. ¿Sí me
Vacas.
entiendes?
Vacas.
Cows.
Kill me. Vacas. 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 Lo siento.
After stopping briefly to admire the beautiful free-range cows, the coyotes let me know that it was time to plunge into the forest. Beyond these woods, they said, was the perfect place to cross the river.
Adios, vacas.
If you'd like to see our
20K is
episode, Hopping the Border,
Just think 20K is a lie here. Imagine what it is to like save up for that in Mexico, dude. Yeah. Not alone. Leave me alone. That's a lot of. Yeah, you gotta think this Coyote guy's getting a lot of that, good percentage of that, right? Maybe.
Go to our Patreon, www.patreon.com/channel5. As many of you know, we are completely independent and primarily supported by crowdfunding, which
he's
comes
actually
by way
doing
of
it.
your monthly subscriptions to our Patreon. So if you feel like checking it out, check it out. But if not, it's all
Wow.
good. Thanks for watching.
Channel 5 live worldwide, Hollywood and Vine.
Fuck the authority. Channel 5 News.
Channel 55.
Damn, dude.
We don't
I need
fuck
to
with
support their
customers.
Patreon. It's literally the best YouTube channel there is at the moment. Let's see. What else do we want? Probably go to bed relatively soon. I'm supposed to get up at like 30. Preservation is killing. We're gonna do that 45 minutes ago. Oh my gosh. Then you ended up here. Well, I'm glad you ended up here hanging out with me.
If you couldn't tell, I love video games.
I can appreciate
I love talking
that.
about them, playing them. Hell, I love just buying them and their associated hardware. And I'm not alone in my adoration. According to Chris Mendocino, curator of the Smithsonian American Art Museum, video games are one of the most important art forms in the history of mankind. And it's easy to see why, with a reported 70% of Americans known to play video games and an industry worth of $180 billion. That's more than film and sports ball. But despite all of that and my love for gaming, they're dying. A recent report carried out by the Video Game History Foundation, or VGHF if you're feeling naughty, found less than 14% of games prior to 2011 are currently available to play. To put it in perspective, that's barely more than the 10% of pre-World War II audio recordings and 14% of silent films that have been archived. And they at least have the excuse that the world was getting bombed harder than a Modern Warfare 2 map at the time. Now, credit where it's due, it's still better than the 5% of my returning subscribers. Seriously, what the hell, guys?
You work from home and only have 2 meetings later in the day tomorrow, so
and by the author's
it'll
own
be an
admission,
easy day.
this isn't even a full
Gotta
list of
love
all the
that.
games released at the time, as there
What do you
isn't
do?
an official resource that
You don't mind
catalogs
me
games
asking.
outside of community-driven resources like Moby Games and Wikipedia. Most worrying in the report is that all games prior to 1985 never have a reissue rate above 3%, and the highest reissue rate for any 5-year period was barely even 20%. That's insane, especially given entities like the Entertainment Software Association have made claims
Why?
such as this. Video games have grown to become an
Why?
iconic component of American culture. So how has this become such a bad
Close
problem?
off.
According to a report commissioned by the Library of Congress in 2010, multiple consoles rely on proprietary and antiquated
Hoard
technology.
bitches.
For example, Nintendo's reliance on cartridge-based media, early
You're a
PC games
consultant for an
reliance on floppy
IT
disks,
company.
or one
Wow,
of my
man,
personal
that's really
favorites,
cool.
the Commodore 64's use of cassette.
pretty
tapes.
awesome.
If you've no idea what a cassette is, it was CD before CD. Ask your dad. I'm sure he'll be more than happy to show off his old
buy it from the
collection
company?
and talk about how he
Wow,
played
man,
Nevermind
that's
so much he
quite the
wore it out.
gig.
I'm sure he's been dying to tell you. But
That's
there
really
was
cool.
also reliance on tech aside from the console. For example, light gun games relied on
I
both
do
the
this
peripheral
and
the
I,
tech and
deliver
CRT
groceries.
monitors to register shots, meaning games like Duck Hunt and Time Crisis are totally unavailable to
Deliver
you.
groceries so I can do
Consoles
more of
also
this.
rely on analog signals in order to output to TVs,
And-
which
and
the
help
vast
feed
majority no longer support.
family.
This notion of technological redundancy has even been echoed by the head of Xbox, Phil Spencer, in a Wired magazine interview back in 2017. Console games can get lost when hardware
Chase your
generations
dreams,
go
brother.
away,
Yeah,
and
man.
it can become
I
more challenging
I
to play
definitely
the games
have
from
taken that
past.
path.
What if I told you this wasn't even the biggest issue? Since 2012,
And
the American
my
Heritage
wife's
Society
real
has
supportive
petitioned for
of
greater
all the things
copyright
I'm doing.
exemptions to be
So
made to the Millennium
she's
Copyright
a
Act
great
to allow
support
library
person.
and archives to conduct more thorough efforts to preserve.
And she's
video
a
games.
she's
However,
a
the
professional,
Independent Software
so
Association has consistently opposed proposals for looser copyright restrictions. Yes, the ESA, the same body who noted how important games are to American culture a mere paragraph ago, have regularly fought against any effort to preserve them, though I guess I shouldn't be surprised given that the same entity also defended loot boxes and denied that they were gambling.
golly, look at all those horde, man.
Their argument being that expanding access to retro games would negatively impact the vibrant and growing market for authorized retro or legacy games and consoles. While they're not entirely wrong about there being a market for re-releases, the issue is this thinking only applies to a comparatively low number of titles. As exemplified by the report, despite the PS2 being a system with massive interest to this day and being the best-selling console ever, only 12% of its entire library is currently accessible. We're still the Commodore 64 only has 4.5% of its library available.
Yeah,
which
it
is
is
a real
nice.
shame, as multiple sources
I
note
guess
how the
LOS
system
doesn't
popularized
matter.
computers and gaming in the home.
I know,
and still has a
man.
dedicated
Apparently
homebrew
not.
scene. Even archives that do have
Pillar
video
isn't
games
the
have the
pillar in this
stipulation that
game.
they have to be accessed on site, which is really limiting. Most, if not all, research material is available digitally, and as long as you have access to the database, you can access it anywhere.
What's up, Eco
which, if
Shipping?
you
What's up,
couldn't,
Lulu?
The majority of research for
What's
this
up,
video
Islam?
wouldn't be available to me. And given that Fansite How Long to Beat reports on
I guess I don't know if I
average,
told you, but
games
I'm
take
streaming
20
on
hours to
TikTok as
beat,
well.
This is a totally unreasonable approach. But who cares? I mean, who even wants to replay games like this? Well, for one, devs can learn helpful tricks and techniques from older games, or even revive styles that have fallen by the wayside from the original developer. Point in case, Spark the Electric Jester 1 and 2, aping Sonic Adventure, which fans adored, but Sega have no interest in revisiting. There's also the merit of educational use. Having access to a wide array of the medium can help people studying the subject, and there's a proven track.
Yeah. Oh, look, it's Pal World, dude. Early versions of Pal World. Holy shit, look at that.
Record of archive use in education. Point in case, when I was in college, we studied a wealth of film in order to learn techniques and the evolution of the medium, and it helped create this channel. Admittedly, I am a net loss for the education system. There is proven merit for archives use in historical and cultural education. In a Britannica essay penned by Martin Scorsese, yes, that one, he notes the importance of preserving art. The cinema gives us something precious, a record of ourselves in time, documented and interpreted. This is echoed by a 2011 survey run in part by the British Film Institute that found 100% of teachers agreed that a wide range of films help children understand and learn more about the world and culture. Additionally, 83% stated that film allowed for more.
You've only seen Pal World, and I actually thought it was a Pokemon until someone tied up their pal and set them on fire. Such a great game, dude. I've really been enjoying Pal World. I've been playing it myself. I need to play more of it because it's super good.
Creative thinking in students. Now granted, both these points are in regards to film, but it is the closest analog to gaming. Hell, they share creative force nowadays
Yeah,
from
definitely.
writers, composers, and even actors. So if
I
you
definitely
wanna
would give it a
consider
shot.
video games
I didn't think
should
I was
we
gonna
not be
like it, and
discussing
I
it in the same
have
circles as movies? I think so. And this kind of
enjoyment for it.
examination can also
I
reveal
really
rather
like that
interesting
game. It's
historical
very good.
trends, like how the Master System totally eclipsed the NES and SNES in the UK, or the early 2000s obsession with trading card game-based mechanics. Seriously, Kingdom Hearts did it. There was that GameCube exclusive Bait and Kaitos. Heck, even pre-Demon Souls From Software got in on it too with Lost Kingdoms 1 and 2. Or what about the 90s weird obsession with barely dressed female characters? Definitely a lot to unpack there. So if all of this is so important, how come we're not doing anything? Now, there are already solutions.
Dude, I
In fact,
remember
three
seeing the
important. How come we're not doing anything? Definitely a lot to unpack there.
dude. I remember seeing the cover of this magazine when I was a kid. Just being, is there an uncensored version?
So if all of this is so important, how come we're not doing anything? Now, there are already solutions. In fact, 3 major ones, but each is imperfect.
Do I do just Twitch? No, so I actually stream on Twitch. I stream on Twitter. I stream on YouTube. Stream on Kick. And I stream on TikTok. Yeah, all simultaneously.
in its own way and is kind of struggling. Let's take a look.
And her triangle tatas, dude, they're the only tatas I wanted to see at that age, man. I'll tell you
The
that.
most obvious method for preserving your games is hoarding them like some kind of Lord of the Rings style neckbeard Redditor dragon.
LOL,
And it's
busy man.
ingraining gamers to do this.
You know, honestly, man, since I determined that Twitch is like, it's really hard to discover on Twitch, especially if you don't have like a constant schedule where you're there at that time that people know you're gonna be there every day. It's tough to get anything rolling on Twitch. But TikTok, the way people find you is pretty crazy. Pretty crazy.
For drawing on nostalgia, but it plays a huge part in gaming. Releases like Mario Kart 8 and Super Smash Bros. Ultimate celebrate gaming's long-standing history, and it's clear to see from fan reception and sales numbers that this works. Many other game companies leverage their legacy titles too to create a stronger connection.
My mic is cutting out a bit.
Gamers love their history with
That's
games.
good to know.
There's also psychological aspects linked with physical media. According to Kristen Jarrett, it's far easier to gain a sense of ownership and connection to something you physically own, which is clearly visible in game collecting circles, as evident by Keelish Ganti's explanation of endowment effect. Endowment effect can be clearly seen with items that have an emotional or symbolic significance to the individual. Given how many games and
has it been cutting out, Zane?
And happy memories for me, I'd have to agree. However, there's also the social aspect of collecting, according to
I might need to
neuroscientist
adjust
Dr.
some
Shirley
stuff.
Muller, and it's very easy to see this in game collecting circles. There's a wealth of online communities dedicated to collecting old games. I myself have made friends over shared interest in older titles, and YouTubers like Metal Jesus Rocks, Scott the Waz, and Peanut Butter Gamer have all made careers off the backs of older games. Muller also posits a sense of achievement in collecting, which if games like Spyro, Banjo-Kazooie,
On and
Mario
off?
Odyssey
Okay.
are anything to go off, gamers just love to collect. And game collecting is kind of an extension of that gather everything mentality brought to the real world. The only difference is in real life there's no little pop-up for spending way too much money on a copy of Skies of Arcadia for the GameCube. Oh, sick, a second mortgage.
All right,
Plus, there's the novelty of playing
let me
a
know
game
if that's
on the
any better,
original
guys.
hardware with all the quirks that come with it. Not to mention that some games rely on the unique design of their
Yeah, I had a friend that wanted to
Wii games rely on motion control, DS
start
games
streaming.
utilize the dual screen setup, and some 3DS games
Start streaming, looking at the coaching stuff, and yeah. Okay. Yeah, I had a friend that wanted to. Yeah, dude, you basically have to market yourself like, I don't even know, man. Like honestly, at this point, like I'm just trying to put out some stuff on a pretty regular basis. Be here to stream and you know, have those one-on-one interactions with people. That way they remember the stream, and that's done well for me over the years. It's been a slow way of growing the stream, but I think it's been a good way of growing it too. Okay, nope. Lol, cutting out again. Is it cutting out again for you, Pluggus? Because it seems like it's going off on my end. So I don't know if it maybe, yeah, I'm hitting all, okay. Hitting all the platforms is definitely a good route. And it's easy to get stuck in like the idea that like none of your stuff's getting watched, or like that and need better editors, or like you're not good at editing enough. There's so many things that you get up in your head as a content creator, man. It's hard to sometimes narrow down what's working, what's not. But sometimes you cut out. Okay. Let me know if it starts happening too much. Don't mind. Yeah, let me actually, you tell me this. Does my mic sound better like this, guys? So the way I'm talking right now? Or does it sound better like, but sometimes you cut out. I'm gonna turn off all the effects on my mic. And if you guys don't mind just telling me if it sounds okay. I'm hoping, you know what? I should probably keep the limiter. Properties, filter. I think I'm going to keep the limiter because it helps me not go into the red. So we'll keep the limiter. Sounds better, you think? Good, good. That's what I was hoping for. Yeah, so far. Cool, cool. All right. Thanks, guys. You guys are real ones.
Perspective shifting. So what's the problem with the physical approach? Well, for one, console gaming can be exorbitantly expensive. As mentioned before, all pre-7th gen consoles rely on video connections that most televisions no longer support. One of them still relied on outdated signals. You just had to be different, didn't you, Nintendo? Now, there are options to translate those signals to something more modern in the retro thing, but that costs $325. Granted, there are cheaper alternatives like pound cables, but the retro ting can work on multiple consoles and it has the least compromise on picture quality, unlike some cheaper alternatives. There's also consoles like the N64 and GameCube that still have their own preferred adapters to HDMI, like the Eon and Kirby, which can cost around $100 each. And this is just to get the consoles to display on your TV. Even the act of acquiring software can be ridiculously expensive.
Intense, man.
In a study carried out by price charting from 2020 to 2021,
I'd really like to try Yakuza.
Games rose by 33%.
Seems like a fun game.
Most notably, Pokemon games saw massive price hikes. Pokemon Emerald increased in price by 145%, and Heart Gold saw a 133% price hike. I get collector's items can increase in price over time, but that usually applies to scarcity with the item, which neither of these games can really claim. Emerald sold over 7 million, and Heart Gold moved 12.72 million units.
Yeah, exactly, Plugus.
Again,
about the changing stuff.
Effect, but
so,
cool aspect. Those affected by it often place higher values on it.
You have a fairly large collection of Legends of Zelda games. That's so cool, man. If there's a collection of games to have, that's the one.
How bad the second-hand market is, and given that one of the VGHF's co-directors runs retro video game store Pink Gorilla, that's saying something. It's so bad that actually rare games like the NES's Little Samson sees prices for as high as $2,750, which is an insane amount of money to spend on a game that.
Well, I'm just gonna die instantly if I res here.
Just think of all the slightly less dumb things you could buy with that kind of cash. This Gucci bag, 5 pairs of these Balenciaga flip-flops, this second-hand Rolex, or roughly 7.5 of these quarter-scale anime bunny girl statues of Mamako from Do You
Dude,
Love Mom?
I've been wanting to get myself one of these anime statues.
Now, who's to say how
I want to get one of the big titty ones though.
Get the MILF in the bunny outfit! Give it to me! I want it! I need a thick anime mommy! And Little Samson is just a notable example. It's not even the most expensive a retro game has ever sold for. Ignoring price, there's also lastability to consider. Many of these older consoles were not built with longevity in mind, and a lot of them are beginning to show their age. PS2 issues with the laser they use to read discs, cartridge-based consoles can have bent or damaged pins, and the original Xbox 360 was infamous for its 54.2% failure rate. My PS2 and GameCube, which I have taken taken care of as if they were real living things, both have dead internal clocks, meaning that I'm no longer able to see timed events in Animal Crossing.
Yeah, I also, my Super Nintendo stopped working. I think I'm going to have to work on it a little bit one of these days, get it back up and going, because it's not working at the moment, which is really sad. It was working forever, man.
Talked about arcade cabinets, which are stupid expensive, take up a ton of space, and can have a plethora of technical issues. Sure, you could just buy one cabinet and swap out the boards with the software, but even they have issues too. Speaking of software,
think yours still works? Yeah.
Scratched or otherwise damaged, C64 cassettes can be degraded. And remember when you were a kid and your Game Boy carts didn't work, so you blew on them? Yeah, that was actually bad for them. The moisture on your breath would erode the board, meaning a lot of cartridge-based games are quite rotten and moldy inside. Gross. I've even recently seen it when I bought all 3 Sonic Advance games. The first of the trilogy was completely unplayable because of this issue. Would be really cool if I could get my money back from that retro game store in Dublin that shall remain nameless. I guess I'll keep the rage to myself. Which is another issue. Bad faith resellers. People overcharging for bootleg cartridges or real ones.
True.
Selling faulty or untested software. Or DK oldies, which is just a whole thing. Seriously, don't buy from them. If physical isn't the answer, what about digital?
People hate DK oldies,
Digital
man.
marketplaces... The barking was not good for my throat. There we go. Digital marketplaces for games have been around since the 7th generation and have really exploded. Steam, a digital-only platform, accounts for between 50 to 70% of all PC game sales around the world. And in a quarterly report from Sony in 2022, 70% of all games were bought digitally through their storefront. And it's easy to see the appeal. Unlike physical media, a digital copy can't be irreparably damaged. There's the convenience of having a large library.
Come on
that
now.
doesn't take up physical space in your house and organizes
Come on
itself.
now.
Plus, it's cheaper for developers as they no longer have to pay for the cost of burning the discs, packaging, and shipping for the product, which has even opened up the market to
Aw,
a ton of
come on, you
smaller
wiener.
independent developers. Even bigger names like
Aw,
Remedy
come
are
on
going digital
now.
only, like with Alan Wake 2. Digital game stores can also house a wealth of historical releases. For example, the PS3 and Vita store plays host to 266 PlayStation 1 games, 104 PS2 games.
But you need an
and
NES. I have the cartridges, but no system. Oh, nice.
Steam and GOG have a great selection of retro games, and in the case of GOG,
Dude, I don't have my NES. My parents sold it, man, or didn't sell it, man. They got rid of it.
Once again,
The garage sale once.
games at a far more reasonable price than physical. For example, PS1 JRPG Suikoden 2 is currently guiding on price charting for $150 for a loose copy. You can buy the same game on the PS3 or Vita for $4.99. In fact, you can buy 80% of the mainline releases for that franchise for 5 times less than that single physical disc. There's also very clear efforts on the part of companies to improve gaming subscriptions and digital platforms. Xbox regularly adds software to the Game Pass service and even upgrades older titles. Sony invested $380 million in low latency streaming to supplement their PS Now subscription, and Nintendo might add a game or two to one of their multiple streaming apps, half of which are blocked behind an additional paywall, with no other option to play legacy titles on Switch. You just had to be different, didn't you? So what's the issue? Well, for one, unlike physical games, you don't actually own
Always.
digital stores. As explained by OSGamers.com, you own a license to the software on the media, but you don't actually own the software itself. Essentially, you're paying for access to the game instead of outright owning a copy of it.
That's such a good game, dude.
This
Worms.
is why you can't share the media like with physical games, but it also comes with a lot of
Why?
other restrictions.
Why are we doing
For
this,
example,
boys?
The PS3 allowed the user
You
to
guys
buy
killed
PS1 games
the turning guy?
you could download the
You guys
same
are a
game
bunch of
there
cunts.
at no extra cost, which was a really cool move on Sony's part. But as Nintendo showed us, there's no obligation to do that. The original Super Mario Bros. Has been made available on every Nintendo console that has a digital storefront. However, unlike Sony,
it looks like I'm going to be stuck
the
here
software
for a little while,
across
guys.
these various platforms,
So-
you have to pay for a new digital license for each system.
I don't want to do this to you guys because you guys are more than welcome to go look up this video for yourself. I'm not going to finish it tonight. It's quite a long one, so I have to be up early, up early, guys. So I appreciate everybody coming out to the stream and hanging out. If you did enjoy, please and haven't followed, please do. And we'll see you guys next time. Last note: have you seen the Tetris movie? No. Oh, I think I actually have. We should watch that on stream, dude. That'd be a good one to watch. That'd be a good one to watch. So I'll try to get up another scene. That way we can watch the video and have some gameplay in the background as well. So yeah, guys. Appreciate everybody coming out. It was good to see you guys. Puggus, you are a great chatter, dude. Thank you for coming and making my stream a whole lot better interaction-wise than it would have been tonight. Zane, you're a rock as always, buddy. Thanks for stopping by. And we'll see you guys next time. Bye. I know. I'm trying to find the software. Later.